when we do a story, it'll have your name and everything. And I'm not interested in doing something any other way when it comes to this, because I think that it's the best way for you to start putting blocks back on top of this. And if I can help you in any way, I will, man. I don't know how I can help you, or, and if I can do anything for you, I'm happy to try to help.
Before I was taken up to the top of the boat, I was in a cabin on the outside of the boat being prostituted by my great uncle, and I was led to believe that there were several other young boys in the adjacent rooms that were going to be taken to the top of the boat one at a time, starting with me.
How old are you?
8 years old.
So you were 8 years old and all this stuff happened. When you first got on this is like a yacht situation.
Yeah, it's like a luxury cruise ship.
When you first get on the ship, what do you think is going to happen? You don't know, or?
I was just not aware. It started this activity in my life when I was 3 or 4 years old, if not earlier. So
right.
I just didn't question where I was or what had happened to me any of these times.
Let's go back to what you said about being prostituted.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, I was put in the room, and for most of the time that I was in the room, my great uncle was standing outside the door, taking people's money and letting them in. And then when he left, his cousin was left with me. I'm not sure if his cousin was alone outside the door at any point, but he was left alone with me on one of the lower decks of the boat while my uncle went to the top.
So people would just come in and you're 8 years old, so they take advantage of you?
Yeah.
What happens? I know it's hard to talk about, but...
Well, there were 2 beds in the room, and I remember being on one of them at first, and then I remember at least 3 of the people that came in the room, and the last person to come in the room, and the people who came in beforehand, it was rape like you would expect,
you were raped.
Insertion. Yeah.
You were raped. These are men coming in?
Yeah.
And at some point, all this happened on one yacht trip, or there were subsequent yacht trips?
This one event.
This is one event.
Yeah.
Okay. So then at some point, you are sexually assaulted by Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
What happens with that?
Well, there's a whole sequence of events leading up to when I was raped by him.
Okay, so just feel comfortable to just talk. If you want to lead up to it, that's fine.
Well, there was an incredibly violent display going on, and I don't want to talk too much about that right now, but before I was raped by Bill Clinton, my uncle held me up over his head, and his accomplice walked up and slashed across the bottom of my feet with a scimitar and collected the blood in a chalice dish with this. And he took a sip from it and then walked away through the crowd. After my uncle got bored or whatever, he held me up and tried to get Bill Clinton's attention. Bill Clinton turned around and looked like he gave this look like, what am I going to do? I have to do it. Yeah, well, it's not a room. This is the top deck of the boat.
How many other kids your age were on it?
I only saw 2 other kids my age, and they were in different circumstances.
Meaning they weren't in as much danger, or they were in more danger, or equal danger?
On top of the boat, the only other child was a young girl. I remember there being a young girl on one of the four podiums. There were four podiums like this, and then the one in the middle, not podium, pedestal. And there might have been, I think there was a teenage girl on one of them too, but the youngest girl was, I think, 6 years old. And I was the only one.
You were in a more dire situation, obviously, than they were. Yeah. Now, what happens? Why did they pick you? They parade you around or something, and they choose the kids? Is that how it happened?
They chose me years before. They chose me for various reasons. I'm sort of the runt of my family, and when I was born, I was born head first with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, with no heartbeat and no breath. They picked me because they thought that I was going to be just a failure. It is shock and awe. You need to know what else happened.
Well, I'm ready. Tell me what happened.
Okay. And then when I was taken into the ballroom, these people were marched diagonally through the room from one entrance at the other to get to the top of the boat, and they were all bleeding from their feet, and they had cuts from their chest to their abdomen. And when I was finally brought out to the top of the boat, they were all already on the ground, being forced to continue having sex in their new state. So there are the people, part of the display, the victims. There are 4 pedestals with women of different stages of sexual development on them, and then the middle pedestal has Bill Clinton. And I don't remember looking up, but I have found a picture of a boat that looks exactly like this one. And in this picture, this boat has a section above the top deck, which is also closed off like this one was, a section above it with windows like this, a semicircle kind of,
Yeah.
overlooking the top deck. So there could have even been very many people that I didn't see inside the boat or on top of the boat that were up there who would come down to the top of the boat to join in the display and then go back up to watch it. But there were people, and this was something that was restricted. I know this because was one of the people doing this and was one of the people doing this, but their associate, who I am now able to identify as my friend's father, was inquiring, like, how does he join in, or where does he get the children that these people are bringing up here? So he is part of their alliance, but he doesn't know everything that's going on.
So let me ask you one quick question, right? You're 8 years old. Somebody's going to say, how do you remember all this? You're 8 years old.
And the mind doesn't forget traumatic memories.
So over the years, how old are you now?
26.
Okay, so over that span, you replay this over in your head. Was that a lot of times, or little segments?
Because of the way that they treated me over over the course of time, my memories have stayed repressed, especially after 12 years old. Before I turned 12 years old, there would be periods when I would remember things that happened to me, even if it was just a little blip or for a split second. But I wasn't able to adequately communicate what I was experiencing.
Right.